Hi, this is Will, and I'm here to elaborate on something I briefly mentioned in my recent post regarding Oceano Dunes and dune emissivity. And that is the variability year to year of the dune emissivity values as measured by the Scientific Advisory Group and its Piceroll instrument. Now, the Piceroll instrument has been used at Oceano Dunes since 2013 to measure dune emissivity. And the amount of data that was collected in 2013 was significant. So much so that that 2013 data set is used as a baseline from which the Scientific Advisory Group measures the dust reduction effectiveness of the various mitigations that they have had placed in the dunes. The dust reduction effectiveness of the hay bales, the plastic fencing, the vegetation plots, etc. But as the Scientific Advisory Group has examined subsequent years of Piceroll data, they have found something they did not expect. They were expecting that there would be one range of emissivity values in the dunes and that range would stay the same year to year. But it turns out that range varies year to year. One year it could be emissive, and the next year it might be not so emissive, etc. And so now the Scientific Advisory Group wants to use a data set other than 2013 to measure dust reduction effectiveness. And this is interesting because when you look at the obligations of the Stipulated Order of Abatement, using the 2013 data set, State Parks has met the obligations of the Stipulated Order of Abatement. But now the Scientific Advisory Group wants to use a 2019 data set, and using that data set, the obligations are not met. So to elaborate on this a bit further, I'm going to use two presentations, one by the Scientific Advisory Group and one by State Parks. And these presentations were given at a recent APCD hearing board meeting. And you'll see for yourself that I think this is a pretty crazy way to go about enforcing the Stipulated Order of Abatement. And I think you'll see overall that this is just simply crazy in and of itself, and that the whole thing should be thrown out the window. See for yourself.
This is Will, and before we go further, I wanted to show you this plot from the Scientific Advisory Group, which demonstrates the variability of dune emissivity over time at Oceano Dunes. The most important part of this plot are the color portions of the plot. These are the levels and ranges of dune emissivity over time. And the time is on the x-axis. On the left, you have 2013, and on the right, you have 2022, and then the years in between. These are the data that led the Scientific Advisory Group to think that, well, maybe 2013 isn't the baseline we thought it was, and maybe we should use another baseline. This is a portion of the State Parks presentation to the APCD hearing board on October 13th, 2023. And at this place in the presentation, State Parks is discussing the 2013 baseline versus the 2019 baseline and how they perform in relation to the obligations of the Stipulated Order of Abatement. So here we go.
And so using this 2013 data, we had a mass, for the current mitigation scenario, the mass emissions was 112.3, and then for the pre-disturbance, 130.4.
Okay, now here, what is being demonstrated using 2013 Piceroll data as circled at the top, that's the baseline. They're saying that, okay, based on all of the emissions, or excuse me, based on all of the mitigations that have been placed in the dunes as of July 31, 2023, the emissions that are coming out of the dunes per our computer modeling is 112.3, and that is lower than we anticipated. Our number that we wanted to beat was 130.4 metric tons per day. That's the third number that's circled there.
So basically, given this scenario, the current situation is significantly lower, 18 metric tons, than the pre-disturbance scenario. And using the 2019 emissivity grid for both, the current mitigation scenario was 100.9, and the revised 1939 pre-disturbance scenario was 83.2.
Okay, now here we have the opposite. The obligations using the 2019 baseline shows that there are still a number of metric tons, nearly 20 metric tons of additional emissions that have to be brought under control to meet the obligations of the stipulated order of abatement if we use the 2019 baseline data.
Point in here is using the assumptions for the 2022 ARWP, and this is the apples to oranges assumption, so this is no longer really relevant. 2013 apples to apples, the current was below the pre-disturbance, but for the 2019 apples to apples, the current was above the pre-disturbance. And so the results were highly variable depending on which modeling assumptions were used. So moving, as I said, this will be a focus of the upcoming year. We'll be working closely with the SAG and the APCD on this, but in all likelihood, it'll be more of a fruit salad to fruit salad approach.
Okay, now here, I can't believe they use that analogy of fruit salad to fruit salad, but if you're selling it to me, it sounds more fruitcake than anything. Okay, and in here, in this portion of the scientific advisor group's presentation, they make their comparison again, like State Parks did, looking at obligations of the stipulated order of abatement using 2013 baseline data versus 2019 baseline data. You'll see on the far right, does it have compliance with the stipulated order of abatement, or SOA, or does it not? So here we go.
If one uses just the 2013 data set, you end up with one scenario across here where the target is 130 and the contemporary landscape is 112. So check, right? You're sort of in compliance with the SOA. Now, you had 2019 data. Why not try it with 2019 data as well? Unfortunately, you don't get the check, right? So trying to figure out exactly why that is, but it's the differences in the emissivity grid, largely. That's what it comes down to, okay? And so then the question is, well, what do we do?
So yes, indeed, what do we do? Well, I know. How about we just simply walk away from the stipulated order of abatement? Because clearly this is a moving target and we're just simply spinning our wheels and wasting the public's money. Okay, this is a bonus for you. This is going back to State Parks' presentation to the APCD. And this is where State Parks discusses where in 2023, they are looking to quantify, quote, emissions in excess of naturally occurring emissions, unquote. Here we go.
So the work plan part of the 2023 ARWP, as I said, a primary focus will be defining this excess emission framework. And we have until October of 2024 to do that. And so we're going to be working very closely with the SAG, very closely with the APCD on this to quantify what emissions in excess of naturally occurring emissions, what that means.
I can tell you exactly what that means. If they haven't yet determined how much emissions in excess of naturally occurring emissions is due to off-highway vehicle recreation yet, they're not going to figure it out. They've been at this really since 2010. That's when State Parks was first accused by the Air Pollution Control District of causing high PM10 on the Mesa. But the stipulated order of abatement has been in place since May of 2018, and they should have known it then, how much in excess of naturally occurring emissions is due to off-highway vehicle recreation. They don't know. They didn't know it then. They don't know it now. That pretty much means it doesn't exist at all. It is well past time for state parks to step away from the stipulated order of abatement and stop wasting the public's money.